Again, if the lights weren't on, then a flashlight had to have been used. Okay, so does Patsy recognize lights being on? Or does Patsy recognize a flashlight? And so Tom Haney asks her, do you recognize that flashlight? Patsy, it looks similar to the one that John Andrew gave John for Christmas or his birthday. Okay, so it looks similar, but it's not the same. It's kind of like Patsy's handwriting. You know, the flashlight looks like John's. John had a similar flashlight, but it's not his. Again, it's like Patsy's handwriting. It looks similar, but it's not hers. Since it's slightly different, it must be someone else's. Really?
I got nightmares in my head, I fear. Thoughts build up until I can't feel. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Tom Haney. Okay, do you recall when it was that he gave it to him or Patsy Ramsey? Not exactly. So, I mean, there would be a way to establish this. You could literally find out when this item was purchased, where it was purchased from, the amount, and then do a cross-reference and find exactly the kind of model and cross-reference that. But Patsy can't remember. Patsy says, although it looks kind of dirty there, I mean, if I remember, Tom Haney, it looks different. Patsy, yeah. Triptomuth. Okay, describe how it looks different. Patsy says, well, the one that I remember John having was pretty slick black, you know, and that looks smudgy or grey or something. Demuth. Okay, well, that's been processed, so it has been changed. Patsy, oh, okay. There you get a sense of Patsy's attention to detail. Triptomuth, or perhaps overthinking certain things. Other than that, do you notice any differences? Patsy Ramsey, yes, I do notice other differences. Now, the only reason the flashlight looks dirty is because it's covered in fingerprint dust. Take that away, and doesn't it become the Ramsey's flashlight again? Demuth, that's similar to the one that John Andrew gave John. Patsy, yeah, Demuth, and I think last time when you were here on last April, that's 1997, Patsy Ramsey says, you said where that was stored. And so in the intervening period, in the year that has passed, the investigators have checked the drawers and made sure. Patsy Ramsey, And I wanted to clarify that a little bit. Do you remember where it was stored? Patsy, well, the best I recalled, it was in one of those junk drawers there in the bar area. Patsy, right, yeah, one of those drawers. Demuth, one of the drawers that's depicted in photograph 380, yeah. Do you remember which drawer? Patsy, well, I most recently remember it being, right in this drawer. It's quite a good memory Patsy's got, 2 years after the fact. Demuth, the drawer that is open? Demuth, and that's the wet bar that's by the spiral staircase, right? Patsy, right. Demuth, okay, now looking at photo 380, you don't see a flashlight in there, right? Now, apparently, there's a drawer open in the kitchen, which is where they typically left the flashlight. Now, doesn't that mean they got the flashlight out of the drawer? Or I suppose you could say the intruder got the flashlight out the drawer. That's quite a big house to actually find the flashlight. Anyway, Patsy says correct. Demuth, okay. Patsy, where was this flashlight found? Demuth, now that's actually an incredible question. Patsy's saying, where was this flashlight found? Demuth, well, do you remember when you came in on April, they showed you a picture of the flashlight? Do you recall that? Patsy says, no, not exactly. Demuth, okay, this was on the kitchen counter. Patsy Ramsey, oh.
Wow, I just got a big headache.
Can you believe that? I mean, have you never seen a picture of the flashlight on the kitchen counter? Now, Patsy's saying she doesn't remember where the flashlight was found. Demuth, we don't have a picture of that, do we? Tom Haney, no, it's in the video, I believe, but I don't. Patsy, Tom, I don't remember one. Demuth, it's, if I can try to describe it, if you're coming from the front door and you're going through the kitchen, now can you believe you've got to describe to Patsy where the flashlight was found? Patsy's like, Demuth, and you kind of got that first nook or whatever you call it. Yeah, right, Demuth. And if you're looking towards that nook area, it would be sort of on the left island area, kind of in that area. Patsy, okay. Demuth, does that make sense to you? Patsy, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, like I said, usually it was kept in the drawer in there. Demuth, Patsy, no, I don't know. Why would that be left out? I don't know. Okay, I notice you have, and then Demuth says, okay, I notice you have cameras out and other things. Patsy says, I'm not a very good housekeeper. And she was accused of that by other people as well. Demuth, there was a video camera, I think, on that kitchen island there or something like that. I may not have that exactly. Patsy, I vaguely remember a video camera being out there because I was probably turning it up to take pictures Christmas morning, but then we never ended up taking any. So the cameras are out, not just a video camera, but another camera as well, but they don't end up taking any photos. Demuth, Did you guys use this flashlight much? Now, think about that. They had the cameras out, but they didn't take any pictures. This is on Christmas. That was a seminal year. John had just become the celebrated businessman, hitting the $1 billion milestone. It was going to be Patsy's 40th birthday in about a week after Christmas. It was John's birthday a few weeks before that in early December. And then JonBenet was also celebrating her success in all of these beauty pageants. But Patsy says, I didn't know. I didn't use the flashlight. It's quite an interesting response. Did you guys use this flashlight much? No, we didn't. Instead, she says, I didn't. No, I didn't use it. Then Demuth says, who did? Patsy says, John used it. Trip, what did he use it for? Patsy says, I don't know. Looking in the garage in the car or something like that. Now, I suppose one can think about that. What does one typically use a flashlight for? Camping, but does one typically go into the garage with a flashlight? Couldn't you just turn the light on in the garage? And why would you need to use a flashlight in a car? Couldn't you just turn the lights on in the car? Anyway, Demuth says, okay, have you ever seen it on the kitchen counter before? And then Patsy gives that stock lawyer answer, not that I recall. You really think that Patsy doesn't remember it being there? Anyway, Demuth goes on, would it have struck you as unusual, or would that not be outside the realm of possibilities given the habits of the family? Patsy, it seems like it would have been unusual to have made it all the way into the kitchen, because usually if somebody was using the flashlight, John was looking. Now it's interesting that she says, usually if somebody was using the flashlight, they were, right? Anyway, then she corrects herself to say, John was looking at something in the garage or under the car or something like that. Or how about looking for something in the basement? Demuth, okay. Patsy, but he might, I'm sure you must have asked him if he, Tom Haney, and maybe I missed it. Do you know when you last saw it in the drawer? Patsy, no, I'm not for sure. Tom Haney, do you remember ever putting batteries in it or buying batteries for it? Someone says, whoops, the flashlight is low, get us some. Patsy says no. Tom, CD cells. Patsy, no, it just kind of wasn't my thing, Tom Haney, okay. How about, do you recall using that during a power outage? And then he says, or to check on the kids at night, anything along those lines. Patsy Ramsey, no, I don't remember that. And then, now this is obviously what the police were imagining, that the Ramseys being confronted by a scene, perhaps the intruders being confronted by a scene, a ghastly scene of a dead child in one of the bedrooms. If so, did they leave the lights on or off? Did they reach for a flashlight and turn them on? Yes or no? I'm not going to take it further than that. Incidentally, in the Amanda Knox case, and bear in mind I've written 5 books on that case, a second bedside table lamp was found on the floor of Meredith Kurtz's room, and there are signs of staging in that case as well. And the light narrative is just as critical to the events of that story as to this one. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.